The battlefield was silent except for the wind that carried the smell of smoke and blood. Marcus Kane stood at the center of a circle of dead goblin warriors, his plasma blade still humming with energy. Behind him, the last survivors of his squad watched with wide eyes. They had never seen a human fight like this before. The goblin horde had attacked the colony ship Prometheus 3 days ago. They came from the dark moon of Vexor Prime, a place where no human had ever set foot. The goblins were small creatures, barely reaching the chest of an average human, but they were fast and deadly. Their technology was primitive compared to human standards, but their magic was something else entirely. Marcus had been a simple engineer before the attack. He fixed broken pipes and calibrated navigation systems. But when the goblins breached the hull and started killing everyone in sight, something changed inside him. He picked up a fallen soldier's weapon and started fighting back. In 3 days, he had killed more goblins than the entire security team combined. Now he stood facing the last obstacle between him and the ship's power core. The Goblin Shaman named Graxuk floated above the ground, surrounded by a cloud of dark purple energy. Unlike the other goblins, Graxuk was old and wrinkled. His eyes glowed with an unnatural light that made Marcus feel cold inside. "You fight well for a human," Graxuk said in broken common tongue. "But fighting will not save you now." Marcus raised his plasma blade. "I've killed 100 of your warriors. What makes you think you'll be any different?" The shaman laughed, and the sound was like bones breaking. "Because I am not a warrior, human. I am something much worse." The purple energy around Graxuk began to pulse and twist. Marcus had seen goblin magic before. Small things like fireballs and lightning strikes, but this was different. This felt older and darker, like something that had existed before the stars were born. Behind Marcus, Sergeant Williams shouted a warning. "Sir, get back. Our scanners are going crazy." But Marcus didn't move. He couldn't. His feet felt like they were frozen to the metal floor. The dark energy was reaching out toward him, forming shapes that looked like screaming faces and twisted hands. Graxuk began to chant in the ancient goblin tongue. The words made no sense to Marcus, but each syllable felt like a hammer striking his brain. The air grew thick and hard to breathe. The lights in the corridor flickered and died, leaving only the purple glow of the shaman's magic. "I curse you, human," Graxuk said, his voice echoing from everywhere at once. "I curse your blood and your bones. I curse your heart and your mind. I curse everything you are and everything you will ever be." The dark energy shot forward like a spear of pure night. It struck Marcus in the chest and threw him backward. He hit the wall hard enough to leave a dent in the metal. Then the pain began. Marcus had been hurt many times in his life. He had broken bones and suffered burns. He had been shot and stabbed. But nothing compared to this. The curse felt like acid running through his veins. It felt like fire burning inside his skull. Every nerve in his body screamed at once. He collapsed to the floor, his body twisting and shaking. Sounds came from his throat that barely sounded human. The plasma blade fell from his hand and rolled away. Sergeant Williams tried to run toward him, but an invisible force pushed her back. Graxuk floated closer, looking down at Marcus with satisfaction. "Do you feel it, human? The curse of the Void Eaters. It will consume you from the inside. Your own body will become your prison. Your own mind will become your tormentor." Marcus screamed again. The pain was beyond anything he could describe. It was like being torn apart molecule by molecule while staying completely aware. He could feel the curse spreading through him, touching every cell, poisoning every thought. The other humans watched in horror. They had seen Marcus fight like a demon for 3 days straight. They had seen him take wounds that would have killed any normal person and keep going. But now he was on the floor, screaming like a child, and they could do nothing to help. Graxuk turned to face them. "Watch carefully, little creatures. This is what happens to those who defy the goblin clans. Your hero will suffer for days before he finally dies. And then we will do the same to each of you." But something strange was happening to Marcus. The screaming stopped. The shaking slowed. His eyes, which had been squeezed shut in agony, slowly opened. They were red with burst blood vessels, but they were focused, clear, determined. Graxuk noticed the change and frowned. Impossible. No creature can resist the curse of the Void Eaters. Marcus pushed himself up on his hands and knees. His body was still shaking, and sweat poured down his face like rain. Every movement sent fresh waves of agony through his system, but he kept moving anyway. "You want to know something about humans?" Marcus said through gritted teeth. His voice was rough and broken, but it was still his voice. "We don't know when to quit." He grabbed the edge of a broken console and pulled himself to his feet. The effort made him scream again, but he didn't fall. The curse was still inside him, still burning, still tearing at his insides. But Marcus had found something stronger, a fire that burned hotter than any magic. Graxuk took a step back, his confidence shaking for the first time. "This is impossible. The curse should have destroyed your will by now." Marcus laughed, and it was a sound that made even his own people nervous. "Will? You think humans survive on willpower alone?" "No, we survive on something much more dangerous." He took a step forward, then another. Each step was agony. Each heartbeat was torture. But he kept coming. The curse howled inside him, demanding that he fall, demanding that he surrender. But Marcus had spent his whole life being told what he couldn't do. "We survive on spite," Marcus said. "Pure, stubborn, unreasonable spite." Graxuk raised his hands and summoned more dark energy. "Then I will curse you again, 1,000 times if necessary." The second curse hit Marcus like a freight train. He stumbled but didn't fall. The third curse made his nose bleed and his ears ring. But still he came. The fourth curse should have killed him outright. Instead, it only made him angry. The humans behind Marcus watched in disbelief. Their scanners showed that his vital signs were all over the place. His heart was beating too fast. His brain activity was off the charts. By every medical standard, he should have been dead 3 times over. But he was still walking, still fighting. Marcus reached down and picked up his plasma blade. The handle was slippery with his own blood, but his grip was steady. "You made a mistake, Shaman. You thought pain would make me weaker." Graxuk kept throwing curses, but each one seemed to have less effect than the last. The dark energy that had once looked so terrifying now seemed thin and desperate. "What are you?" The shaman screamed. "What kind of monster are you?" "I'm human," Marcus said simply. "And we've been living with pain since the day we climbed down from the trees." He swung the plasma blade. The movement was slow and clumsy, nothing like his earlier grace. But Graxuk was too shocked to dodge. The blade cut through the shaman's magical barrier like it wasn't even there. It cut through the old goblin's body just as easily. Graxuk fell to the ground in 2 pieces, his face frozen in an expression of pure disbelief. The dark energy around him faded and died. The invisible force holding back the other humans disappeared. And Marcus Kane, still burning with 1,000 curses, still bleeding from 100 wounds, stood victorious. Then he collapsed. Sergeant Williams reached him first. She checked his pulse and found it weak but steady. His breathing was shallow. His eyes were closed, but he was alive. Against all logic and reason, he was still alive. "Get him to the medical bay," she ordered. "Now." The others scrambled to obey. They carried Marcus through the corridors of the damaged ship, past the bodies of goblins and humans alike. Word spread quickly through the surviving crew. The engineer had done it. He had killed the shaman. The goblin attack was over. In the medical bay, the doctors worked frantically to stabilize him. The curse was still active in his system, still trying to destroy him, but something was fighting back. His own body was producing antibodies that had never existed before. His cells were adapting, changing, becoming resistant to the magic that should have killed him. One of the doctors, a xenobiologist who had studied alien species for decades, looked at the readings in amazement. This shouldn't be possible. Human biology can't do this. The head surgeon, an old woman with steady hands and sharp eyes, just smiled. You don't know humans very well, do you? We're the species that decided the universe was too big and went out to conquer it anyway. We're the species that looked at death and decided it was just another problem to solve. Marcus remained unconscious for 3 days. During that time, the surviving crew managed to repair the essential systems and send a distress signal. A rescue fleet was on its way. The goblin threat had been eliminated. Life on the Prometheus slowly returned to normal. When Marcus finally woke up, he found himself surrounded by flowers and cards from grateful crew members. His body still ached, and he knew the curse would leave permanent scars. But he was alive. He had survived something that should have been unsurvivable. Sergeant Williams was sitting by his bed when he opened his eyes. "Welcome back, hero," Marcus groaned. "Please don't call me that. Too late. The whole ship is calling you that. You killed the Goblin Shaman. You saved us all." He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. "I just did what anyone would have done." Williams shook her head. "No, anyone would have died. You fought through a curse that was designed to destroy everything you are. The doctors say your brain should have melted. Your heart should have exploded. But somehow, someway, you just kept going." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. He thought about the pain, about the feeling of being torn apart from the inside. He thought about the moment when he had wanted to give up more than anything in the world. And he thought about the small, stubborn voice in his head that had refused to let him. "That's just what humans do," he said finally. "We refuse to die when we're supposed to," William smiled. "That's exactly what makes us terrifying to the rest of the galaxy. We're too stupid to know when we're beaten." Outside the medical bay, the stars continued to spin in their eternal dance. The universe was vast and cold and full of dangers that most species could barely imagine. But somewhere out there, on a damaged ship full of survivors, a simple human engineer had proven something important. Pain could not break them. Fear could not stop them. And no curse, no matter how dark or ancient, could destroy the stubborn spark that lived in every human heart. The goblins had learned this lesson the hard way. And if the rest of the galaxy was smart, they would take note. Humanity was here. And they weren't going anywhere.